All right, guys, and welcome back to another video. This is the 5 principles of belonging. You've heard me talk time and time again about belonging and why this is so important for this generation. I would argue for every generation, but since the year 2000 or so, this has been the dominant thought on the mind of adolescent culture. Belonging. Where do I belong? Who are my people? Who takes me in? So we talk about belonging a lot. And it's kind of easy to think of that in a broad stroke sense, like how do students feel like they belong when they come here on a Sunday morning or a Sunday night? But how do we actually create belonging in a small group culture? Because that's very different. And so we believe that there are 5 tenets of creating belonging within small group culture. It looks a little bit different than a large group culture because small group culture is more intimate. There's more vulnerability and depth. There's consistency of leadership and relational influence. It's a whole different thing than this large room filled with a lot of students at once. So how do we create belonging as small group leaders? And if you're a parent watching this, how do we create belonging in our families? I'm going to offer 5 tenets that I think can accomplish that. The first is shared experiences. So when you think about a small group or a family or a group of people committed to one another, there has to be memories within this group that they're drawing back and reflecting on things and laughing about things and remembering these inside jokes or good times or contextual things that only they understand. There has to be shared experiences because shared experiences build trust and ultimately build vulnerability and authenticity within a group. So think about it. If a small group only meets once a week in this classroom and they talk through a Bible study, that's great. But comparatively, like if that same small group did that and met outside of the Sunday small group time and did things like go to the movies together, go to an amusement park together, go out to dinner together, go camping for a weekend, have a Thanksgiving party, have a Christmas party, small group leaders showing up to athletic events, to graduation events, to birthday parties, to things like that, all of a sudden, the community that's being built is not based on the ritual of, I come to this church and this building and I go into this room and we study the Bible and we talk about it, and that's really the only time I see these people. We're creating shared experiences that create trust, the foundation of trust. And that's necessary for love and relationships. So without shared experiences, it becomes a little bit of a ritual. Like I go here, I go to this classroom, I'm with these people. But to create shared experiences creates memories, and memories lead to trust. Jesus did this with his disciples all the time. Their meetings were organic. They were traveling. They were doing life together. And so we believe shared experiences are huge. The second thing I would encourage you to create is a sense of orientation or a sense of direction. So this involves both where is this small group headed? So when you begin a small group, like in the beginning of the year, put some tracks down, lay some directions down. Let your students define some of that. What do you guys want to study? What are you interested in? Where are we going? How do we get there? Here's what I'd like for us to come around. Whether that's a book or a concept or a Bible or whatever, lay some tracks down in terms of the direction. And that way you know where you're going and the students know where you're going. Oftentimes we hear from students, I just don't know what our small group's about. Like we just meet and that's it. What are we about? So define it. Give a sense of direction. It's also not just for direction, it's for culture. So create an expectation of this is who we are as a small group. This is what we're about. When we come together, guys, this is going to be defining for our small group. This is the culture of our group. And that way you can hold students accountable to that idea and it becomes a reference point. So when things start to get hard and conflict arises or miscommunications or students start to drift and they're not as committed, you can pull them back to, hey, remember we said this is what we're about and we all agreed to this. And so orient the group where you're going and what you're about. So orientation is very important. That's our second thing. Third, a sense of safety. We want our students to know that they are safe physically, relationally, emotionally, spiritually, and mentally in our small groups, that it is a place where they can be vulnerable and confide. I know you guys watched the video from Brentley and Dallas about the 3 hurts. And so, we want students to know they're safe, but they're safe enough that they can share those things and get help. We want to serve them in that way. But this is a place of safety, a place where they can come in and not worry that they're going to get bullied by what they say, a place where they can come in and they're not worried that they're going to get picked on or made fun of or some sarcastic remark, or where there's not going to be these cliques and these subcultures or splinters even within the group, that we are creating small groups of safety in every way so that they can open up and take the mask off and start to become vulnerable. Fourth would be a sense of value, that every student would know that they are valuable because God has made them in his image and they are worthy of the death and resurrection of Jesus because God has said so. That they have immense value, that they're loved by God, that they're loved by us, and that it would never be a question on their mind whether they matter or not. That in these small groups and in our families and in our friend groups, they would know, man, I matter, I have value. And they would know that from the way they're treated and the way they're talked to and the way they're empowered by their small group leaders. Fifth, we want our small groups to create rituals or ceremonies that mark significant times in the lives of our students. We believe this is huge because students have some very important things that happen in their life, and to come alongside of them as their small group leader, as someone who's been investing in them for maybe years, and to put a finger on that and to say, hey, I want to celebrate this. I want to mark this. We as a group are going to have a ritual, a ceremony. We're going to celebrate your birthday or your graduation or the fact that you turned 16 and you can drive now, or you got accepted into that college, or you got that job, or whatever. Have specific ceremonies coming around specific things, and they're memorable. Again, that leads then to shared experience. I mean, this is kind of a cycle, these 5 things. That's what students remember. A lot of students who are in small groups, they may not remember the week to week to week study of the scripture, but they remember ceremonies and shared experiences and what it felt like to be in that group. And so these are the 5 things that we believe create belonging in a small group setting.